Okay, it looks like we're ready to begin. So, good Monday morning to everybody that's attending today. This is the Monday morning classroom session from Shortcuts. Today, we're going to be talking about inventory management. It's easily one of the most important features in Shortcuts, one of the most powerful tools in the program that not enough people are really taking advantage of. So, we hope you learn a few things on today's presentation. So as with our other presentations, this webinar is going to be about 30 minutes, a little bit more. We're going to allow some time for questions. So my microphone is of course turned on and we are recording this. We will be sharing this a little bit later once we convert the video, the presentation. So of course your speakers are hopefully on and you can hear me right now. If not, we'll just wait for the recording or double check your audio. We will take questions near the end, but if it's something pressing, you can go ahead and ask the question on the webinar toolbar on the right side, and I'll try to answer it if it's just a quick one. Of course, you can always find out more about the presentations we're working on. You can ask us questions on our Facebook page. We're at facebook.com/shortcutsusa. So what are we looking at today? So inventory. So you need to understand how inventory works in Shortcuts. So there is a relationship between suppliers, companies, lines, and products. And once you understand this, once you get this down, you'll then start being able to correctly start tracking your products, placing your orders, knowing where to enter barcodes, where to enter other informations. So we want to make sure that you're comfortable at every step of working with inventory in Shortcuts. So you should know how to activate, inactivate products, set your levels, know your movement history, and what are the particular reports and even inventory. How does that work? So let's talk about the relationships, the sort of like the order of operations that Shortcuts keeps track of everything. So before you're adding any product, even if you only carry certain shampoos or certain lines from a certain company, before you enter them into Shortcuts, you always want to tell Shortcuts, this is my supplier. Do you order it directly from the manufacturer? Do you go through one of the big suppliers? And then once you have that, then you start building this relationship. You tell Shortcuts, who's the company that you receive from the supplier? What are the lines that you carry? So, of course, a lot of the big companies, they make a million different lines, colors, conditioners, styling products, and even tools. But you may only carry color, for example, and even the colors you carry aren't all of the possible colors. There's just certain colors, certain lines that you carry. So it's very important that you organize these correctly. And then, of course, the last step, adding the individual product. So we're going to do a little bit of live demo and some videos and some screens. So let's actually look at our product screen. So I'm going to exit out of the presentation for just a second. And we're going to look at a screen that should hopefully be very familiar to everybody. So this is on one of our test databases. So most of you have screens that are very similar to this, where you have the list of companies and you have the list of particular lines and particular products. So you may have more, you may have less than what we have here. But before I go in here and start talking about all of the columns, what do they mean? If you're new to Shortcuts, if you've never worked with Shortcuts before, or you really want to get on top of your inventory, the correct step that you should do is you're going to go to the inventory button on the right side and into the product screen, which we're on right now. But before you add any companies or any products, the first thing you always add is your suppliers. So on the bottom right corner, you're going to tell Shortcuts, sort by supplier. And once you sort by supplier, you're going to add, using the new button on the bottom left corner, from which suppliers do you order from. So perhaps you only order from one or two companies, or you have a half dozen companies you order from. So make sure you add each of those individually. And when you get a chance, you're going to select that supplier, and at the bottom of the screen, you're going to go to the details wrench. The information that you put on this window, specifically on the first column, supplier details, this is how Shortcuts knows whose contact information, whose email needs to go on the order form in case you use Shortcuts to place an order or to receive an order. It knows all of these details to populate and then put it on the order form. And on the right column, do you have an account number? Do you have a shipping reference number? So when you get a chance after you add your suppliers, add your supplier details. After you do that, then you can go into sort by company and line, and then tell Shortcuts, okay, who is my supplier? And then who is my company? And then of my company, what are the lines that I'm carrying? And it doesn't really matter if they're professional products or retail products, because as you add the lines and add the products, on the far right column, we can actually right click on the column headers and add additional pieces of information. The one that I'm going to recommend, if you don't already have it, you're going to right click at the very top of your column headers, you're going to properties, and you're going to choose the retail column. And what that does is it allows us to tell Shortcuts, is a certain product back bar only, or is a certain line, the entire line, back bar only, or everything from a certain company, is the entire company professional use only. So you can tell Shortcuts this, and anything marked as professional does not become available at the point of sale for your regular customers. So we're going to talk about the other columns in just a moment, but those are the basics. Always add a supplier first. After you add your supplier, you're going to add a company. And really you just press the new button at the bottom of the screen to add your companies. After you add your company, you're going to add your lines. And then once you add your lines, then you can add your individual products. So all of my Blonde Studio colors, for example. So I hope at the very least you're using this portion of Shortcuts correctly. So supplier, company, line, product. So we do have a video that covers those, and I'll actually jump to the end portion because I actually just talked about adding a supplier and a company. So every time you press new, when you're in the company portion, it'll automatically add a line. You can even add graphics to your suppliers or to your companies in case you like to make sure that visually you remember which suppliers or which companies you're looking at. So the graphics, I think there is a standard 100 by 100 pixels, and it's a PNG, 256 color, or BMP, sorry. So it's some information overload, but the important thing is to get those details in there. So for the products, when you're on the product window, remember it's company, line, and under line, if you press new, you introduce an individual product. One of the questions that I sometimes get when I'm training our customers is they'll say, why can't I just have a company and immediately underneath it just put every product that I get from that company? I don't want to put shampoo or conditioner. I just want to put all the individual products. Well, Shortcuts wants to help you organize for inventory and for reporting purposes. So that's why we don't just introduce a million different products under one company. We break them into individual categories. So just for the sake of organizing for reports, for proper tracking, you're going to have to add a line before you add a product. And then in the middle of the screen, and we'll actually do a live demonstration of how this works. So the middle of the screen, when you are placing orders or when you're receiving orders, Let's talk about how Shortcuts knows how much do you actually need to order. So in the very middle of your product screen, you have three columns. One that says current, maximum level, minimum level, and even warning level. So in Shortcuts, current is however many actual bottles of a certain product you have. So for example, for this color, let's say I had 9 tubes. And then maximum or minimum. When it comes time to order, how does Shortcuts know how much it should actually put on an order form for you? So that's where maximum and minimum come into play. Let's say for this particular color, the most I need to have in stock is 10 tubes. The least I need to always keep in stock is 3 tubes. And whenever my staff is down to 1 tube, I need my point of sale system to remind me I only have 1 in stock. It'll remind me it's time to place a new order. Now, based on these numbers, if I were to tell Shortcuts I need to order this color, my Blonde Studio, against my maximum level, then Shortcuts is going to look at how many I have and say, okay, you need to order 1 more tube of color. However, if I tell Shortcuts I need to order against my minimum number, then Shortcuts is going to look at how many I have and say, oh, well, you don't have to order any. You're way above your minimum. So not every location, of course, uses both a maximum and a minimum. For your salon or your barber shop or your spa, you may only decide to set it always against your maximum. And then on the right, there is a column that says primary. This is actually primary barcode. So in this row, if you have a barcode scanner connected to your computer, you can click on that row and scan in the barcode for a particular product. So I'll just make up a barcode. So hopefully you have a barcode scanner. It really speeds things up as far as inventory is concerned. Also, once a barcode has been recorded for a product, it's going to be easier for you to add that product at the point of sale. If this was just retail, I would scan in the barcode and it would automatically add it as a line item. Now, this is something that's going to happen to you. It probably has happened a few dozen times in the time you've been in the salon or the spa business, is you're going to receive a product. And normally you go through it, your price, your buy price is the same, your sell price is the same, the size is the same. Everything is exactly the same as the previous 2 years worth of inventory. However, the company decided to change its barcode on the product. Well, of course, if you're tracking it and you're selling retail products, you can't exactly tell Shortcuts, well, I have a couple of retail colors that I sell, but they changed my barcode and I have a few left on the shelf. So I need to be able to sell my new barcode product as well as my original barcode product. So to fix it, for any company that you get a new barcode on, you want to find that product, and at the bottom of the screen, you're going to go to the details wrench. So the wrench, as I always remind the people I work with, the wrench will help you fix it. On the left side, one of your options is barcodes. So Shortcuts will always show you your original barcode, and then at the bottom of the screen, you can press new and then scan in your new barcode. And now Shortcuts will recognize both barcodes for the same product. And even going forwards, you can tell Shortcuts the next time I receive an order or place an order, use this as my new primary barcode. So this is going to come in very handy when you're dealing with inventory. You can always track the same product with different barcodes. Make sure you go to the details button. So something that's going to help you when you're dealing with inventory is you want to have the ability to search for products. So depending on how big your business is, you may have a dozen products, you may have a few hundred or a few thousand products. So on your keyboard, there's a couple of buttons I want you to write down, and hopefully you know about these. The first is your keyword search button. So if you press F3, it brings up your keyword search, and you can start typing the name of a product, and shortcuts will narrow down the results. And once you find that item, if you press done, it places it at the top of the screen. So F3, that's your keyword search. The F3 button also works in the point of sale. So if you have some products, you don't have a barcode scanner, and you don't want the staff just searching through a countless list of products, in the point of sale, just press F3 and type in the name of the product. The other button you should know about, if you have a barcode scanner, if you've been recording your barcodes, is F5. And what F5 does is it brings up your barcode scanner or your barcode search. So it happens that every now and then you have a bottle and the label's worn off a little bit, but you still have your barcode, and you need to determine, was this a styling product? Was this a shampoo? Was this a conditioner? I don't remember what's in this bottle. If you press F5 and scan it, then Shortcuts will tell you exactly what that product is. And then if you need to, you can tell Shortcuts to reprint you a label or a new barcode for this item. So F3 and F5, they're going to become very useful when you're searching for products and when you're trying to update your inventory. So let's go back to the presentation. So we talked about adding new products. So when it comes time to close out a line, something that you no longer carry, you do have the ability to activate and inactivate products. So rather than watch a video, we're going to actually activate and inactivate products. So we'll return to our demo. So any product that you no longer carry, whether it's retail, whether it's professional, we would never advise that you should delete things, whether even customers or services. And the reason for that is because at the end of the year, when you're doing your reports, you want to make sure your reports are as accurate as possible. If you start deleting items, then it's kind of hard for Shortcuts to prove you ever had any real business. So instead of doing that, if I don't carry a certain color anymore, on the right column, I can uncheck those items and make them inactive. And the next time I go to my inventory window, when I press done, that in those certain products will now be gone. But if I decide, well, I really did like those blonde studio colors, I need to bring them back. Then on the bottom left corner of my product screen, I can tell Shortcuts, show me all of my inactive products. And then when I open up my L'Oreal, for example, and I open up my Blonde Studio, I can find those products that I previously deactivated and bring them back from the dead. So remember, in Shortcuts, we would never advise to delete products, services, or even customers. Instead, make them inactive. In this way, your reports will always be accurate. Okay, so let's go back. So I hope you're picking up some useful information now. So let's talk about product movement. So in your inventory screen, you can choose certain companies, certain lines, certain products. So let's say you want to see how your age reversal is doing. So remember that wrench, that details button. On the left side under options, the option under barcodes is movement history. It'll actually give you a list of every sale, every update, every return, and every inventory count that you did regarding this product. So if you just want to see, okay, is this product really moving well? How many are we going through? What's my averages? So right away, go to the details, go to your options, and check your movement history. Now, hopefully you know how to do an inventory count, or maybe it's been a few years since you've done an inventory count. So let's talk about the proper way to count products. So whether you do this once a year, twice a year, or it's been forever, we're going to begin at the beginning. So you're going to go to your inventory screen and you're going to choose Take Inventory. Now, rather than watch a grainy video, we're going to do this live. So I'm back in my shortcuts environment. I'm under the inventory screen and I'm going to take inventory. So perhaps I have a certain schedule that I stick to, or I have a manager and receptionist work together to go through the inventory. You do not have to count every product, every line that you have. That can drive you crazy. So instead, on the right side, when you create a new inventory count, you can say, I'm just going to focus on L'Oreal. And I'm not just going to focus on every product that I have from L'Oreal. I'm just going to focus on my L'Oreal colors. So I can press new and give it a name. And then at the bottom of the screen, when I go to the next button, Shortcuts is going to ask me, okay, what do I want to count? So on the top right corner, I can press the add button and manually choose the company, the line, or the individual products I want to count. So in this case, I'm going to go through my list. I'm going to choose my L'Oreal, but I'm not going to choose every product under L'Oreal. To select only certain lines, I'm going to select the block. On the left column, I'm going to choose Blonde Studio, Color Key, Color Keys, Dia Color. Okay, so those are the ones I want to count. On the right side, I'll press the Add button. Now, I could continue going through the list and adding any individual or any other products that I want to count. So I'll press Done, and oops, I made some products inactive. I forgot to reactivate them. Okay, but the other ones should still be on my list. So Shortcuts will give me the list of all my products that I have. On the right side, on the right column, it'll say how many does the computer think I have in stock according to its last count. And then on the left side is where I can manually go in here and tell Shortcuts, okay, how many did I actually count of a certain product? So when I'm ready to begin the process, at the bottom of the screen, I can press the Start button. And when I press the Start button, Shortcuts does not expect me to do the count then and there and enter the information right away. Inventory can take several days, if not several weeks, to complete. So I can always return to this window and add just a few items at a time as I count them. So if I press Start, Shortcuts will say, am I ready to start the count? Yes, I am. And Shortcuts will give me the option. Do I want to print up my count form? Do I want to make sure I have a list or my item form so that I can choose the products that are to be unlisted, and my maintenance form so I can compare the numbers that I have? So I can print all of these up, and I'm not actually going to send it to the printer, and press Done. So now I can take my papers from the printer, I can assign it to one of my coworkers, or I can join them, and we can start counting our L'Oreal color products. So I can press Done, and the staff can use the computer like they normally would. And later today or later tomorrow, when I finish my count, I can return to my inventory button and return to my Take Inventory screen. I'll find the line I was working on. and go to the next screen. And on this screen, I will now start telling Shortcuts, well, I thought I had 0. I actually had 3 of this bottle in stock. I had 1 of these, 2 of these, 1 of these. And if there was history or value, a buy or a sell price against this, you're actually going to see an adjustment value. So as I add these products, Shortcut says, oh, well, I thought you had 0 in stock, but it turns out you had 1. And because you had 1, that's a $7 value that just turned up. And for this one, I thought I had 1 in stock. I have 0 in stock. Then Shortcut says, okay, that's a difference of $7, et cetera, et cetera. So I would go down the list and I would continue to update my products. Now, if it was going to take me a couple of days to do this, I can save where I'm at by pressing done. And then I could return to it later. Again, choose the line I was working on and then continue updating my list. And once I was complete, once I had done my count, I had updated all of my actual count. At the bottom of the screen, when I press finish, Shortcuts is actually going to warn me. It'll say, are you absolutely sure you're ready to finish this count? Because whatever I counted is going to replace the previous count that Shortcuts thought it had in stock. So that's why it allows me to say, no, let me go back and double check. Or I can say, yes, I'm absolutely positive. Since this is my test database, I'm not really worried about losing too many things. Okay, so it's also going to say, there are products that have different counts than what you had previously. Are you absolutely sure you don't want to recount? So right away, Shortcuts gives you 2 chances to get this count right. So if you have a receptionist or a manager or even just one of your employees going through and updating the inventory and they get nervous and they're not sure if they're doing these steps correctly, they can pause, they can hit no, back out of the screen and make sure they're doing this right. Otherwise, if they're confident that they counted everything correctly, then they can say, yes, I'm ready to continue. Then Shortcuts will update everything it has or allow me to reprint my forms and double check. So I can finish it and say done. So now Shortcuts has updated my inventory based on the numbers that I provided. So you don't have to count every product that you have in one fell swoop. You can break this down over a month, decide you're going line by line, and then just count those individual lines. So don't feel that you're going to be overwhelmed when it comes time to take inventory. So you can just choose small pieces that you're going to focus on. Okay, I hope that helps a little bit. So if you understand adding products in your inventory, telling Shortcuts, what are you actually carrying? What's professional? What's retail? Recording your barcodes. Once you have that foundation down, it's really easy to understand, okay, when I take inventory, I know what I'm counting. I know which companies I'm counting for, which lines I'm counting. Now, if you've never placed an order in Shortcuts, this is easily the most powerful tool in Shortcuts that not everybody uses. And it breaks my heart because Shortcuts is so exceptionally powerful when it comes to dealing with inventory. So once Shortcuts has its supplier information, its company, its line information, rather than putting everything in an Excel spreadsheet and trying to figure out what you have and what you need to order and things like that, you can actually place or receive orders right from this window. So the steps are going to be very similar to when you're taking inventory. So if you've never placed an order in Shortcuts, the same rules apply. You're going to go to the ordering window, and at the very top of the screen, the very first thing you tell Shortcuts is from which supplier are you about to place an order. So this is how Shortcuts knows, who am I going to email? What contact information am I going to put on that email or on that paper if I decide to print it. So I'm going to order from L'Oreal Canada. And at the bottom left, I'm going to create a brand new order. So then Shortcuts wants to know, okay, let me help you populate a list of products from L'Oreal Canada. So are you ordering a little bit of everything? Just retail, just professional, or is this a special promotion order that you're going to work on? I can say a little bit of everything, maybe some retail, some professional. So Shortcuts will go through my list of all of my L'Oreal products from that supplier, both retail and professional, and it'll look at my maximum or my minimum level and say, okay, this is exactly how many you need to order of each of these products so that you reach your maximum level or your minimum level. Now, at any point, I can decide, oh, on this order, I'm not going to order any of my Dia color. So I can highlight an entire list of products and delete those. So I don't need to order them this time around. And if I look at my list and say, as long as I'm ordering from L'Oreal, I'm going to order some other items that are not necessarily on my list. So at the bottom of the screen, on the bottom left, I can press Add. And I can manually choose the same company and perhaps a different line. Or if I know that L'Oreal actually makes a different line or a different company, I can order those items as well. So Shortcuts will show me what's in the order form, how many am I going to order. It will let me adjust the count. So maybe I'm going to order a few extra. And then am I supposed to pay some sort of freight charge or tax on this just to make sure that my order is correct? So for this one, I'm going to pay almost $50 in freight. So whether you're only ordering a handful of items or you're completely restocking your L'Oreal line, this is the process that you use. And at the bottom of the screen, you're either going to place an order or you're about to receive an order. So the steps for ordering or receiving are almost identical. Perhaps you don't use Shortcuts to order products, which is fine. A lot of these manufacturers have web pages that you go to where you just type in your number and hit order. Now, for Shortcuts to know that you receive something and that the count is correct, then you can create your list of products and instead just receive it through Shortcuts. In this way, any number of bottles that you have or tubes, whatever it is, when you press receive, it's going to add these items to your existing count. So just remember, these steps are the same. Choose your supplier, tell Shortcuts, am I ordering retail, professional, or both? Curate your list, and you're either going to order, at which point Shortcuts is going to send an email to your vendor if you have that information in there, or you're going to press receive, and Shortcuts is going to update your inventory count based on what you just received. So I'm going to make up an inventory number here, an invoice number, and receive it. So the process for ordering and for receiving, they're very complementary. And if some of the products don't have barcodes or require labels, you can tell Shortcuts, yes, as long as I'm receiving, print me up labels for all of these items so I can affix them to the bottle or to my shelf. I'll say not just now. And then Shortcuts will actually give me a list of everything that I've ordered and everything that I've received. Similar to your inventory count, you do not have to finish an order in one step. So perhaps you decide you're going to order some color, but you're not quite sure which companies you're going to order color from. So you can always begin the process of an order. Again, I'll choose L'Oreal. I'll say I'm going to choose a little bit of everything and pause. I can pause where I'm at save on the bottom of the screen, save my order as a work in progress, and return to it later. When I return to my order screen, it's my saved order, and I can continue editing it. Now, sometimes you get an incomplete order. So when you go to receive it, or when you go to place it, so I'll place this order. Thankfully, I don't have an email entered, so nobody's going to get an email on this. Otherwise, I'd have a $1,000 expense Shortcuts would have to pay for, and I don't think they would like that. So I'll say, yes, I'm going to place my order, and I'm not going to print it right now. So Shortcuts has the products that I've ordered that I've yet to receive. When the shipment comes in and I go to receive it, if I notice that a few things were on back order, I can tell Shortcuts I have 0 of this that I received. And Shortcuts will say, okay, do you want to keep this item? Do you want to eliminate it from your list, or do you want to put it on back order? So I'll say, yes, I'm going to keep this on back order. So I do not necessarily have to receive every product that I ordered in that first shipment. I might not get it until tomorrow or the next day. So certain products, I'll keep them on the back order list. So I'll set those to 0. I receive 0 of these items. So now, when I receive what I actually got from the company, then Shortcuts will, I'll put in an inventory or an invoice number. So I will receive part of my order, and the rest of them will stay on this outstanding list until I actually receive it. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense. So we talked about doing a count. We talked about creating an order and even receiving an order. So what is the information that you want to focus on? If you're using Shortcuts to take inventory properly, there's key reports that you want to look at. So under Tools, Reports, Inventory, there's the Inventory Control Report. So this is going to show you what your current and required levels are and what you have on order. Your inventory movement history. So any inventory movement within a date range, the last week, the last month, the last quarter, you're going to have listed there. Your received inventory. So are the items that you're receiving making it to the shelf or making it to retail? Your inventory received summary. So just for a specific date range, what were the totals ordered for each company? What were your business totals, your freight totals? And of course, outstanding orders. Because again, your vendors do not always have a complete order. A number of products may end up on your back order until you receive them perhaps a few weeks, if not a month later, because they are so backed up. So these are the big ones to focus on inventory. There's a dozen other reports you can look at, but focus on these for right now. So today, before we do the summary, let's jump back exactly one screen. Because you know the reports, you know the basic process, but you might also wonder, well, wait a minute, how does Shortcuts know to order against my minimum or my maximum? How does Shortcuts know how many days do I need to cover when I place an order? Because I'm not ordering for an entire year, I'm just ordering for a month, or I'm only ordering for a few weeks at a time. So the way Shortcuts knows that is under the Setup button on the right side, and under Setup, you're going to Configuration. On the left side of the screen, you have 3 tabs, Sales, General, and Region. So the only way to access this is to go under Setup Configuration. And on the left side, the specific tab you're going to is General, and under General, you're going to Inventory. So on the Inventory screen, there's a few things that you can configure here. Shortcuts has what's called a statistics calculator. and you'll actually see it at the bottom of the inventory screen. If you've never used it, you're missing probably the most important thing in your inventory. What Shortcuts does is the longer you place orders, receive orders, sell products, track professional products using Shortcuts, the smarter the system becomes. And if you've been using Shortcuts to order and to receive for at least 3 months, you can run a statistics calculation. And Shortcuts will say, okay, for this certain company, this is how much you actually ordered and used during this period. So it's designed to help you adjust your inventory numbers. How much do you actually need to order? So if you think you're going through a lot more color than you actually are, the statistics calculator will help you find it and say, okay, don't order 5 tubes of this color because you've only used 1 tube these past 3 months. So then your count is going to be adjusted. How many should I actually have on my max or my minimum? And then whenever you place an order, against how many days do you need to cover? 2 weeks? An entire month? Do you place an order just once a month? And if you know you need to build in a little bit of lead time for your rep to make sure everything's in stock, available, and so that you don't run out on a busy day, you can say, I'm going to build myself a 1 or 2 lead day. And then, do I need to be reminded to run my statistics calculator every 90 days or every 180 days? So the statistics calculation is good for not only checking 3-month periods. If you've been using Shortcuts to place your inventory, to track it, to receive it, to order it, to sell it, then after a few years, it's going to get very good at calculating what your seasonal uptakes are. So you can tell Shortcuts, I need to look at my inventory since it's the holiday season. I want to look at my L'Oreal for the holiday season and make sure that I'm ordering enough products to get me through the holidays because I'm usually very, very busy then. So again, the statistics calculator can actually help you calculate a certain company, a certain period of time, a certain line. So the more you use Shortcuts to properly track your inventory, to order and to receive, the smarter it gets. And finally, against which level should Shortcuts place an order? So are you setting it against your maximum or your minimum numbers? So this is where you set that feature. So before we wrap up our presentation, I want to make sure that you know where this information comes from. Okay, so let's go back. So today, this was a pretty dense topic of discussion, but for everybody that uses Shortcuts, you should absolutely know how to use your inventory. So remember, everything's connected. Your suppliers, your companies, your lines, your individual products. This is how Shortcuts knows when you need to place an order, where do these products fall under? When you're doing an inventory count, where do these products or these lines fall under? So everything is accurately counted and the information is collected. So you should know how to add suppliers, companies, lines, how to work with your products, how to search through them, how to inactivate and reactivate. And of course, being able to track your movement history for certain products. And if you know how to order, how to receive, you'll know more or less how to take an inventory. And of course, what are the inventory reports you want to look at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter? So this brings us up to the end of this presentation. So we're going to open up the floor. So if you have any questions, on the right side of your screen, you should have a little question toolbar. Go ahead and write out your question. In the meantime, if you want to find out more about our webinars, our Monday classroom sessions, or other webinar topics, you can always reach us on our webpage, shortcuts.net/webinars, We do record our sessions, all of the sessions, all of the presentations we make, not just the Monday sessions, but also our special presentations when we talk about our new email marketing, or if we have other features and shortcuts that we're unveiling. You're welcome to watch our previous presentations in our library. So if there are any questions, now's your chance. And on the right side, I can see a few people have already jumped off, so I take it they don't have any questions. So I'll check my chat window. I'll check my question window. And I think you might still be writing down some notes. All right, I think that was thorough enough that we have answered all of your possible inventory questions. If you think of anything after the fact, go ahead and give us an email, education@shortcuts.net. Reach out to us on Facebook, visit us on our website. We're always checking our Facebook page, our emails. So if you think of anything, let us know, and we'll make sure to get you an answer or reach out to you. So thank you for attending our Monday classroom session. This has been Shortcuts Working with Inventory. So I hope to see you on the next presentation. Have a great day, everybody.